Hey guys, and welcome back to Purposely Positive, where our goal is to bring God's Word into people's hearts and homes. But that's not what we're going to do today. We are going to talk about the carnivore diet. I guess you could say I found it kind of through Joe Rogan, Dr. Jordan Peterson, his daughter, Kayla Peterson, and it had always intrigued me. This is probably a while coming. This has been, I don't know, a year or two that I've heard about it. But I just didn't think I could do it, right? It is so restrictive. There's so many things, like, oh, what about fiber? What about, all of these, what about cholesterol? All these things. But I went for it, and my results are shocking. Absolutely life-changing, if I'm being honest. So before I get into that, I'm going to take a second to interrupt this video just to remind y'all to like, subscribe, comment, share, do all the things, get this out there, because I do think that this information could possibly help someone out. It could be you, could be a family member, could be a friend. Do me a favor and share, like, subscribe, all that stuff. And now back to the video. I'll give a little bit of a backstory. So I've always battled my weight. I grew up quite obese. When I was a sophomore, I was like 285 pounds. And ironically, the Atkins diet I found through a friend actually helped me lose a ton of weight. And by the time I was a senior, I had dropped 85 pounds and I felt really good. I felt healthy and all that stuff. Through the military and diving and some other stuff, it was very difficult to continue Atkins. So I just stopped and ate the typical American diet and gained back lots of weight. Yeah, I never really got back up to 285. That was a lot. But 240, 250, those were certainly the areas I was just kind of floating around. And I didn't feel good again. I felt really bad. I've also dealt with a lot of other health issues, which we'll go over. The basics of it is, when I turned 30 at about 250 pounds, I decided to make some changes. And so I said, okay, from 30 to 35, I'm going to lift weights. I'm going to join a gym. I'm going to do that. And during those 5 years, I'm going to research which martial art I want to do. Well, after about 2.5 years of that, I found Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I was just all in. Hook, line, and sinker. That's what I wanted to do. And so at about 33, I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm 38 now. So I still lift weights, and I always have ever since 30, but definitely felt huge calling towards Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I love it. Still love it to this day. It keeps me active. It's challenging. It's fun. It's mentally challenging and physically challenging. I really enjoy it. And that has kind of encouraged me to continue down the path of physical fitness, and that's what I've been chasing, along with trying to get rid of these health issues that I've had. So I've always believed that, the body kind of wants to heal itself if you just get out of its way, if you let it do its thing. But I've had a lot of health issues that actually my mom and I shared together. These were significant. These were things like significant anxiety, depression, like I said, weight gain. We both had constipation issues, acid reflux. She had some other things too, big ones like fibromyalgia and stuff like that. And we thought that food had something to do with it, but we weren't really sure. Well, during this time, especially during the time of jiu-jitsu, I wanted to get better and faster and stronger. So I saw this video, a documentary on Netflix called What the Health. And me and my wife just went in headlong. And for the next almost 8 months, I was vegan. And I had never been more sick in my life. I had never felt more ill. I am not a person that gets sick often. I almost never get sick. My wife has said that she's seen me throw up one time. And yeah, so I don't battle with that very much at all. But during these 8 months, I was absolutely miserable. First of all, I was much weaker I was heavier, so I put on a lot of fat. And the sugar spikes, like my blood spikes, were just terrible. After every meal, I just felt like I needed to go take a nap. And there was never I never felt strong. I never felt like I was healthy. And I did all the things. I watched all the YouTube videos and read up on it. And, oh, you need to try these exotic fruits and vegetables that come from, the Amazon rainforest or whatever, turmeric and just you name it, all that stuff. And I just went for it. I bought all the things, and nothing helped. And what got worse was constipation. What got worse was anxiety. Anecdote. One of the worst anxiety issues I ever had was going into a meeting. Before I went into this meeting, I had oatmeal, peanut butter, and honey. And I mean, that just about killed me. I felt so bad, and just the panic that was happening. It was horrible. And I had absolutely no reason to feel panic, to feel anything was wrong. Well, fast forward, me and my wife decided that it would just be a healthy thing to talk to a marriage counselor. There wasn't anything in particular. There was nothing that we were, trying to sort out, so to say. Just we thought it'd be healthy for a marriage, and I think it is healthy for any marriage. And during this time, I had a counselor, and I talked to her about these anxiety issues. And I would always bring up food, like, I think it has something to do with food. And she would say, no, it has nothing to do with food. It has, well, let's look into your past, and let's look into, why you might have PTSD or whatever. Well, yes, I have had some PTSD potentials. I had a couple of close calls while I was diving. But to be honest, it just never, those conflicts are resolved. I don't have any issues. I'm not claustrophobic, or I don't have, any real triggers. And so trying to find triggers that aren't there is incredibly difficult. But I believed her, and okay, food has nothing to do with it. Okay. I tested my blood sugar, and my blood sugar was never bad, which is kind of surprising to me. I expected, well, surely I must have diabetes. That's what I always thought. My blood sugar must be so high because I just feel like I got run over by a truck every time I ate, a good bit of carbohydrates. But it was never bad. It was always very good still, ironically. So, okay, I guess it wasn't food, and I moved on, right? Well, in my progression of health, I found intermittent fasting, and I thought, okay, that's not too bad. I don't actually mind being hungry. So I would do 18-hour fasts, 16-hour fasts, and then a 8-hour food feeding window. And I felt a lot better, especially when I wasn't eating. And that almost encouraged a negative relationship with food, or maybe a dangerous way to go, because people might say, well, the anorexia, be careful. And it really had nothing to do with weight. It was just the fact that what I know now is I was getting a reprieve from poisons or issues that my body had with the foods that I was eating. Well, I had fasted for probably about 2 or 3 years, and I dropped a bunch of weight, and I felt much better. So vegan was absolutely out of the question for me. It made me feel horrible. And it's also pretty hard to eat as well. In my opinion, almost no foods are satiating on the vegan diet. But intermittent fasting, I was getting somewhere. I dropped a significant amount of weight. I got down to about 215 pounds. And I felt strong, but not awesome. Until I tried keto. And I had tried keto in the past, but the first time I tried it, I wasn't very successful because I could not get my electrolytes in check. It was a struggle. Electrolytes were like, I was always getting tons of muscle cramps and lots of, heart palpitations and stuff like that. So I thought, no, I'm not going to do it. Well, the fasting was almost like a transition. It was a transitionary period for me to understand how my body needed electrolytes, it needed fats, and it needed water, but not as much as you would think. I was always under the impression that you need to drink, a gallon and a half of water a day, crazy numbers. And I just don't think that's true either, by the way. So as the progression started, it started with vegan, and then it went to intermittent fasting, and then into keto. And then after a while of keto, I was feeling really good. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is how I'm supposed to feel, right? But a couple things still persisted, one of which was anxiety, although it was much less, but constipation. That was the worst. And I'll maybe do more videos on these specific topics later on, but with the amount of fiber that keto, because you can kind of cheat. You can have like a little bit of carbs as long as you offset it with fiber and all of that. And it made it so bad. Oh, it was terrible. And I think that keto might work for other people, and that's fine, blah, blah, blah. But it was a struggle, man. It was a struggle. I was taking laxatives almost every day, and you were just hoping, like, gosh, I hope today's the day that I get to go to the bathroom. And so I started to tweak things, and I started to remove things out of my diet, and it just eventually turned into carnivore, basically. I found out that, all of these things with fiber was really bothering me. Again, Dr. Jordan Peterson, they turned me on to other people as well, like Dr. Ken Berry and Dr. Chafee, and some other really good ones, Dr. Sean Baker. Ironically, these are all doctors talking about this, and they're all in really good shape, too. That's the other thing is, like, side note, when you look at a vegan, you almost never say, man, that's the athletic body that I want. That's going to help me do jiu-jitsu. That's going to help me do this. But with a lot of carnivores I've seen, you're like, that looks like a healthy human being to me. And these men are 60 years old, 50 years old, and they are just killing it. So this encouraged me to try carnivore. And I did it the way they recommended. I said, let's take a week or 2 or 3 and cut out those other things. I was already in ketosis, so that was a check. And I just started removing things to where I basically got down to beef. And that was life-changing. So it's been 90 days that I've been on the carnivore diet. And my anxiety, this is not an exaggeration. It's gone. Like it never was. It's weird. And let me tell you this. If you've ever had a panic attack in your life, you'll know that you wouldn't wish that on anyone, your worst enemy. It is the worst feeling in the world. You feel like you want to rip the skin off of your own body just to somehow escape. And the worst part is that there might not be anything going on. I've woke up in the middle of the night with a panic attack for no reason. This is sleeping. So to have no idea what's going on only makes it more scary. Well, that is gone. Oh, so let me back up. To combat the panic attacks, because I could kind of feel them coming on, I got a prescription for it. And I didn't take it daily. I did the best I could to not take it almost ever. But if I felt a panic attack coming, I would take one. And it would help. Well, I would say, just on average, I would take one maybe once every 2 weeks, once a month, something like that. Well, it's been 90 days and I haven't taken one since. And it's because I do not feel those signals. They're just not coming. Like there's no anxiety. Now, there are always stressful things in your life and you have to deal with them, right? But I feel like I have an ability to deal with them as I should now, normally, naturally. You take a deep breath, you pause, you think about things, you whatever, do what you do. But I don't feel the need for the medication whatsoever. So that's gone. Depression, gone. at least to the unhealthy levels like we're talking about here. Constipation, also gone. Acid reflux, gone. I mean, it has been crazy. I don't feel like I have a lot of injuries too from jiu-jitsu, like hip injuries and stuff like that. They're still there because there are some mechanical issues, but they're actually getting much, much better. My hip doesn't ache nearly like it used to. So these things have just changed my life. Like, it's absolutely amazing. Now, with that said, do I recommend everyone try this or do it? No, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical advisor by any means. So don't take that, like I'm pushing. But this is my results, and my results are absolutely fantastic. It has also helped me to cut out foods that I thought, maybe I never knew that I had an issue with eggs. Oh, wow. I've been eating eggs for 38 years, right? But when I started to play with eggs on the carnivore diet, I realized, I actually have some of those issues that would come back. Another one is psoriasis, by the way. Like, I would get dry, itchy skin and some patches that would just kind of stay for a long time. Well, eating eggs would like pop back. Cheese was another one. So what I ended up finding was that pork and beef, lamb and bison, so any ruminant meat, and just so you know, that's a animal that has multiple chambers so that they can really process the food, and the proteins that they provide are the best on the planet. And pork, I know that that's not a ruminant, but I also do really well with pork. So I found that those are what I do really well on. I've also found that I don't need to drink as much water as I thought I did. Electrolytes aren't actually as big of a deal as they were before, because once you kind of get to the levels that you need, I just don't feel like I'm dropping them as much as I used to. So right now, I weigh 185 pounds. I'm 6'3", and maybe I'll show an image of when I was on vegan and what I'm on now, because this is good. I feel very strong. I feel fast. I feel better than I maybe ever have. And at the age of 38, that's really saying something, because I've competed in jiu-jitsu before in the past, and now I'm really excited to do this with the carnivore diet. Doesn't mean I'm going to win any more than I did last, but I'm definitely encouraged. And like I said, my strength is pound for pound the best it's ever been. There was a time when I was lifting heavy weights and I was heavy, 240, 250, and I could certainly put on more plates than I can now. But that's not what I'm going for. I'm going for happy and healthy, and that's what I absolutely feel now. So I know that I've taken up 19 minutes now, but I wanted to get this out there because ultimately, if I can be another voice to help someone else out, someone who's having a lot of health issues and you feel trapped, you feel like nothing is working for you, you feel like, maybe there's just no light at the end of the tunnel. Well, that's what this video is meant to help with. I'm sharing my experiences, I'm sharing my results, and they're all good. I did get a blood test, I'll say this too, and all of my blood levels were really good except for cholesterol, and I definitely recommend, keep in mind, if you're afraid of high cholesterol numbers, then don't do this diet because you're going to get high cholesterol numbers. However, if you do some research on cholesterol, you might be very surprised with what you find. This is me talking about the carnivore diet and how it has helped me. I do wish that my mom was still around because I do feel like this would have helped her too, and maybe that's a video for another time. But if you are feeling helpless, hopeless, get into a good Bible-based church. Surround yourself with good people. Maybe start experimenting with what you're eating, because I heard this a long time ago and I completely agree. Food is the medicine. And that's what you need to be looking for, is how can I fuel my body to the best of my ability, and how can I get my own body to heal itself, because I think that's what your body ultimately wants to do. All right, guys, that was me. 90-day challenge, carnivore. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Let me know what you think. I know it's crazy, carnivore, but yeah, I love you guys. Take care. God bless you, and I'll see you next week.